All right, let's get into it. So I decided that I'm going to start doing recaps of Survivor, one through I'll probably go up to 40. And I decided that yeah, since I'm rewatching them, slash watching them, that I wanted to do recapping all of them and go season by season. I just finished up season one, started season two, and yeah, that's basically what I'm gonna start doing now. I'm gonna every time I finish this season, and when I get time to, I'm gonna put on a recap up, and so yeah, so getting into it, I'm just gonna show you what I'm gonna do with the format. I'm gonna go through the players individually each. Um, Elimination by how they were eliminated, and then I got questions that I want to voice crack there. I got questions that I wrote down to answer that I feel like were bigger questions slash notes points that were big for the season. Overall, how the season was, and just you know basically sort of a comparison between season one and this past season 38. So yeah, let's get to it. So first off, we have Sonia, who was voted off first. She not really surprised there. She's the older lady. She didn't really do great in the challenge. Um, these first ones are not going to be that long because they weren't in the game that long. So yeah, these first few three or four are gonna be not as long. But yeah, Sonia, she was, yeah. I mean, she's an older lady. Uh, I feel like these games, even though this was the first one, um, of this is the first season of this game. No one has seen it yet, but I feel like you'll see as we go on that older people get kicked off pretty early if they don't, you know, do good right off the bat. And she was one of those people. I just didn't think she did that good in the challenge, and it's hard to make. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not older, but it seems like it's harder to make connections with people when you're, when you're older, and you with those young people. They band together and have that bond, and it's hard. Sticking with the older category, we got BB, who was ticked off next. This one he didn't really get kicked off because he was older. It was more he was getting on people's nerves. With putting the shirt in, or I think it was a shirt, and the pot that they cook stuff in. I mean, that's kind of, why would you do that? You have a whole water. You got so much water out there to do that, and then you decided you want to do it in that pot. It's just seemed weird, and it was not what people liked, obviously, and I think that kind of rubbed people the wrong way. I just think like he was very opinionated, but he was also annoying opinionated too. You'll see when I get to Rudy, like he was opinionated too, but like he's able to adapt. Whereas BB, he just said, "Screw it," I'm gonna say what I want. I'm gonna do what I want, and then people like Joel got on their nerves, and uh, it just got arguing, and yeah, it's just one of those things where the older guy, it didn't seem like he helped make uh the bed and stuff, not the bed, but the shelter, and did all that, but he was more being kind of bossy, and once that kind of like not even bossy, but like he tried to be over the top bossy and tries to say like try telling people what to do, what not to. Like, I don't know. I just it didn't vibe well with other people. It didn't. He didn't really connect well with other people, and yeah, he didn't adapt like I said, Rudy did. But yeah, I just overall he just didn't have a good game plan or anything. He just I don't know. He was stubborn, didn't listen, and people got tired of it. Next we got Stacy. Gonna be honest here. Don't remember much of Stacy. Remember more about Sonia and BB than I do Stacy. But I mean, she seemed okay. She wasn't as old as Sonia and BB, but I think also she was. It was one of those things where it's like, okay, we have to kick somebody else out. What's gonna ruffle the least amount of feathers? And just like I just think I, it was her time to go. She didn't really bring much to the table as far as camp wise, and not that she didn't try and everything, but didn't bring much to the table, and challenges she wasn't great. So yeah, Stacy, she was the next one to go. Like I said, I didn't have much to say about her. Don't know much, don't remember much about her, and I just watched it, so that's not good. Ramona. Ramona, so Ramona. Here's the thing with Ramona. She kind of complained a lot, and she wasn't like doing much at camp, and like, and yes, I understand she wasn't feeling well. It's hard to adapt to that. But there's one or two things, two things I guess I gotta point out. I want to point out here. Uh, if you're not feeling good, if you're not doing good and whatever, like, yeah, obviously people aren't going to be 100%, but that's kind of like a red flag of wanting to vote them out or whatever. And then it's like the other thing is she wasn't helping out because of that, and to that point, it's like, okay, she's not doing much around camp. She's not doing well in challenges. And it's like, yeah, she tried later, like the last few days she was there and stuff, but it was too little, too late. She just, she seemed nice. Seemed like, as far as likability, personality wise, it was there. I feel like it was just the fact that she couldn't do much and wasn't able to do much because of she wasn't feeling great most of the time. So, it's I've never played the game obviously, but um, it does take a toll on people more than others, and I feel like unfortunately for her, it wasn't her game, and she maybe got her footing a little too late. But even that, I don't think she would have. Who knows how long she would have lasted again? So yeah, that was Ramona. Dirk, Dirk was a character. He definitely had a. I see why he was cast. Um, the problem was Dirk is he was pretty good in challenges. It's good, and he was pretty good socially. I just think it was more of the fact that he. Sorry about this light, by the way. I'm trying to. I have no other way of doing this. Anyway, so Dirk, yeah, he pretty good in challenges, pretty good social player. I just think, in these games, if you don't have a good connection or their lack of connection with players in the game, there's stronger bonds, there's stronger types of players that can, he didn't really have much of a strategy, and again, This was season one, so nobody had anything to go off of. I get that, but it didn't seem like he had like a plan of what to do. He was just there. I mean, a lot of people were, but he was just there to play the game, and he yeah, he just did not have those connections that were able to help him, and they decided that it was probably his time to go. Um, Again, I could see why he was cast. Obviously, he was entertaining. I mean, somewhat entertaining. He's not like the most entertaining in the season, but he was definitely a portion of the entertainment. And like I said, he did help the team out a lot, the tribe, and the when need to, and he did have some connections. But as far as the whole connection type of whole tribe connection, the majority of it, it's just he wasn't there. He wasn't. No, he wasn't there. Is he wasn't able to connect as well. So yeah, that's what I got out of that. Um, as far as Dirk goes. Next we have Joel, who Joel, great competitor. He definitely was great in challenges. Socially, he was okay social. He had that feud with BB, and he what was I gonna say? Yeah, he had that feud with BB, and you know that didn't do a whole lot, but I think also like he just I think at that point they knew was it going to I think they knew the merge was coming up. So even though he's a strong player, I believe that they got rid of him because they knew the merge was coming up. I think the merge was soon after that. Um, yeah, it was coming up soon. So I don't know whether they knew that or not. Maybe they didn't know that. But I feel like they knew somewhat. I mean, I know they a few days knew ahead of time. But I think they might have known a little earlier. So I think maybe getting rid of Joel, even though yes, you're putting your team in danger, tribe in danger of going into challenges. I think you able to take that risk and able to lean on other players who also were pretty strong, maybe not as strong as him, but like enough to win the next challenge. Which it. Who knows? I mean, I don't. I honestly don't remember off the top of my head what tribe he was on. I think he was on the Toggy. Was it Toggy? The orange tribe? Or was it Diallo? Was it Pagon? Pagon? I don't remember the tribe name. I know it's Toggy, I think. The orange. The yellow was. Oh, what was it? I don't remember. I should have wrote that down. I didn't. But anyway, as far as that goes, yeah, he great competitor, pretty good socially. I just think they wanted to get rid of him before the merge because I think he felt connection wise he would have been able to hurt them. Even though they said they're going to be together. Yeah, I think he was on the yellow tribe. Um, Even though they said they were going to be together, stick together, I think they were kind of worried about that. He was going to go off and make alliances, or maybe not alliances, but just deals and stuff, and go with the other team, and because maybe he wasn't quite fitting in that group. Um, yeah, that's all I really got on him. Then we got Gretchen. Gretchen, she's the thing with Gretchen is that she was. I mean, a lot of people again were afraid to play the game, but I feel like she could have been good. She had potential to be good. She had she definitely was the likable person. I just think it comes down to connections. You don't have strong enough connections or too strong connections, and they see that, which I don't think was the case here. Then they will vote you off. They will not want you. And I don't know if this was. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, so she was the last one voted off before. the jury started, for the final nine. So yeah, Gretchen. I think maybe they also wanted her out because they didn't think they'd vote for her, but I don't think that was the reason. I think it was just overall she didn't play the game as well as she could. She was just a likable person, and again, maybe going to the merge, they were afraid that she would be too likable and people would be too afraid to get rid of her, and because she's such a likable person that she can go in and have connections with people to make her stay. So I'm not sure exactly. I don't remember exactly why they voted her out, but I believe it was because of that. And I know I just watched it, but that's another one that I don't really remember why. Um, I finished it like last week, so it's been well, no, it's been 5 days since I finished it. Um, so yeah, maybe I don't know what happened. I should know this. But I think pretty much because she was likable and they thought she might have connections with the other tribe. Um, On to Greg. Now, this guy was. This was okay. This is merged now. They are merged. You know, everyone moving forward is going to either be on jury or the final two. So with Greg, I think he's somebody that had a showmatch with Colleen, and he was such a big threat competitively, and he was a goofy character. That all those combined, he was just like, you got to get rid of the guy. You got to get rid of him. He's gonna, if he gets to the end, he's gonna win, which he might have. You don't know. And then I think as far as um, you know, there was that alliance of four, with uh, Richard, Rudy, Kelly, and Sue, and they all they all agreed to get rid of him, and I think that as they did for a majority of the season, but um, I think that they just knew he would beat a lot of people in the end, probably everybody, maybe everybody. I don't know. It's tough to say because things could have played out differently, but yeah, he just sometimes being too likable and too goofy, and plus you go in with the being decent at competitions. It's just it's a hard balance. Even though Richard Hatch he was decent at challenges and he was outspoken. He played the game, and we'll get into that when I get to him. But yeah, so I just think he I don't want to say overplayed it, but he was being himself and he was being goofy, and that kind of came and backfired on him. So going on to Jenna, um, you know, the thing with Jenna is that when they got to the jury later on and they started asking them questions about who they thought would win, um, she said, I don't know if I would have wanted to make it this far because the game got too messy and I don't know if I could have handled that. And again, these first season, I know, first season, don't know how the game's going to go. But to say you don't, you're there to play a game, you're there to win $1 million, and to not want to, be messy and make moves or whatever, just, I find it funny when, people say, oh, I want to keep my integrity intact and whatnot. And it's like, it's a game, you got to play the game. This is not real world. You're out on an island playing a game for $1 million. You know, people are gonna do what they have to do to win. Short of lie, cheat, well, they'll lie obviously, but cheat and steal. They're not gonna do well. Maybe they kind of steal anyway. But yeah, that's what I mean. You got to do what it takes in order to win that money, I think, and she wasn't willing to do that. Plus, as you heard, I think Sue said it. She was kind of like the loud one and kind of obnoxious, kind of, and even though she was probably a sweetheart and she um, she probably got along with people well. I just think she didn't play the game. She didn't, was too afraid to make a move. Didn't play the game. She was just there and for company to be liked and just a kumbaya. Let's have a fire. Yeah, that type of stuff. And yeah, that's not gonna win you the game or make it. I mean, it might get you far if she wasn't so loud, maybe. And I don't want to say obnoxious, but she was. You could tell, like after I think Sue said that after she said that she was the loud one, like you could tell that she. If you go back and think about how she talks and the way she was around people that from the edited version, obviously that she was a lot louder than most of the people there. So I think it comes down to the fact that maybe we got to get rid of this girl because she. I'm not saying she was annoying people, but like maybe when you don't have food, that much water, and you know you're like your mind's not right. Like maybe that could come into play, playing with your mind, and yeah, it's just she didn't play the game to play the game. She was in the game to be in the game, as far as just be there and have a good time. As far as a lot of people, but yeah. So then we go on to Jervis. Jervis. Now, Jervis was very entertaining. Obviously, we know this. I didn't even watch this. I didn't even watch the season until now, and a lot of people I knew they were talking about how great of a player he is and how socially he's great. And I think he did try to make a move. He did try that, but like he was just one of those players like Greg who was too likable and he could win challenges and like he made that um target he made the shirt Target and he's just that goofy guy and I mean at that point when he made that Target shirt I don't think it was too late but he tried to make a move a little too late later in the game he tried to you know he tried to go after um, some people and yeah I think that core four was just too tight and they're sticking together even though Kelly wavered. I think she ultimately, even though she didn't like it, she stuck with that group and voted Jervis out. I mean, like he he's a very like I mean he has a family. Obviously they said he has four kids. Two with one girl, another with his another girl, and then they just had one with the girl he was with at the time. I don't know if they're still together. I don't follow that, but that latest girlfriend that he had, that he potentially could be his wife. Again, I don't know if he ended up being his wife or she ended up being his wife. So yeah, as far as that goes, he he's very likable. I mean, you can tell he. I mean, and they said it in the show that he wanted to his first. I think it was his wife, his first one. No, wait, it wasn't his wife. He was never married. But he wanted to be with her, and she kind of broke it off. But anyway, yeah, I say this because I think people look at it as like he just went from girl to girl to girl and didn't really didn't really try to have a family like stay with the family. And I I don't think that, and I don't think anyone. I'm not saying anyone believed that or thought that, but I'm just saying what I'm observing, and that people could think that, and um, I think that overall he seemed like a good guy. He like that little at the end. And we'll get to Sue's speech, but when he said like, you know what, Sue, you're just mad that you pretty much tried to do the same thing you didn't get at the end, and then he just like he voted for Kelly, and he like he was like real, he was a real, not to everyone, like he was real, and it was just like genuine. He was just like, you know, like he wasn't afraid to speak his mind, which is okay in the real life, but not in these games sometimes. And but ultimately he was kicked off, I think, because of great competitor, great. Uh, he had great social game. Everyone loved him, and he just it was time for him to go. You can't take him too much for you can't take him too far, or else he is gonna win, just like possibly Greg would have. Um, so yeah, as far as that goes, that's what I think made him um kind of made him get eliminated. And then Colleen was like she was like she played a similar game to Jenna, but in a quieter version, if that makes sense. Like she was in the showmans with Greg, whether I mean at that point I don't think it really mattered because Greg was already gone, but I think it was just also she was the last member of the Pagan tribe. I think that's the name, the Yellow tribe. She was the last member, and then they just kicked her out because she was the last person. But I say she's like Jenna because they played, even though Jenna was louder and Colleen was more quieter, I think it was just the fact of they both seemed like they were there just to hang out, meet, not necessarily meet guys, but like just hang out with them, and then just to like be on a vacation, like it's like a beach. Although I know they didn't feel that because of the rain pouring, all that, and then the less not enough food and stuff. But I mean, part of the social game goes. I think they didn't. Colleen wasn't that great in challenges. I don't think she won any individual immunity idols. But she might have been close, but I don't think she actually won any of them. Like I think that last one, her and Kelly were going at it. Kelly won, which kind of saved her from going. I think that was Kelly. Yeah, that was it. So she kind of saved herself. Kelly saved herself, and Colleen, it was just her time to, the other four, like again, those four, that core four there, of Richard, Hatch, Sue, Rudy, and Kelly. All four of them, they were that tight four. All like, even Kelly was wishy washy. Didn't really like it. She stayed with him, and even though she still told Sue she wanted her out and stuff, like they somehow still sort of voted together and still knew they had to work somewhat together in order to get there. And with Colleen, she was just like the last victim of the Pagan tribe. So yeah, that's what happened with Colleen. Um, Next is Sean. 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 He. I believe he didn't really seem like he wanted to play the game. He was too scared to play the game. I mean, that alphabetical order of voting, it was just, because he didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, or he didn't want to make anybody upset. I just think it comes down to, you're in here for $1 million. Richard Hatch has told you he's playing the game and tell you he would do whatever he wants, and you're voting an alphabetical order, just to save face. And actually, that's what Jenna was, the next one or whatever, and that's what kicked her out, was his vote. And then that's when he said he wanted to change her. But still, it's like at that point it's too late. Like you don't, he didn't even have a backbone. He didn't have a backbone uh, to even make a decision. Like even on that reward on that yacht, he could decide who wanted to go on for breakfast with him, and you know he said up at, like the day before he was gonna take Kelly. You know, Kelly was his decision. You know, and then when it got to it, you know, he was like, Kelly, do you want to go? Should I pick you? And she was like, it's your decision. Don't put this on me. You know, take who you want. And then he changed his mind to take Richard Hatch. And it's like, how, like, like things like that. It's like, yes, he made that decision by himself, but when he asked Kelly, he wanted like she said, he wanted her to make that decision so that he didn't have to make the decision. And it's just things like that that Sean didn't do. Seems like a likable guy, you know. Obviously, uh, that's episode with his father and like on the yacht and coming back to the island, meeting everybody. That was nice, you know. Uh, I mean, everyone seemed. No one was really mean or. I mean, most of the people. We'll get to this person soon. Well, actually, next we'll get to him. Anyway, so yeah, he seemed like a nice guy. He seems okay, but he just wasn't playing the game. And his actually, funny thing is when they went to the reunion show, his audition video was pretty funny. I mean, I could see why he was cast. And again, a lot of these people were cast because obviously personality. They want a bunch of people, a lot of these people's personalities to, they want to make a good TV, which is what these shows are for. And unfortunately, for a lot of these players, they didn't want to play the game, which is why the season was great, but I can't say it was the. I mean, based on the seasons I remember, obviously I haven't gone through all the ones I haven't seen yet, but based on the ones I've seen, I think they're like Heroes versus Villains was better. I think, you know, Blood versus Water. I think it was called. I think that was better. The first one. I just think there was other seasons that were better. Um, but this was like the OG season, and Richard Hatch won. He was OG winner, so it's like, it's obviously you don't know when they didn't know what they were getting into. It's very new, but it's just one of those things where it's like you got to play like it's for $1 million. Like you got to think of some way to play. You got to make some decisions by yourself. And I just think Sean he didn't really care. He didn't want to make those decisions, and he kept saying he wanted to, but he never really did. And again, those final four just kicked him out. So now we're left with those final four. And let's see. So next one is out with Sue. Now, I don't remember. No, that was Jervis was out. I was trying to think of that immunity challenge where they had to build the fire. That rich one. But that Jervis was still in there, so it wasn't that one he won. Trying to think of that immunity challenge that Sue went out on. Anyway, Sue. I didn't like her at first, but then I was like, you know what? She seems kind of annoying, but she's playing the game. Very few people this season were playing the game, and she was playing the game, and I liked that. And I like the fact that she was part of this alliance, and her and Rich were together and were working together, and it seemed like she said that Kelly was her number one at one point, and obviously they got into it, and they didn't end up staying like that. But it seemed like Rich was her number one, and then Rich's number one was Rudy. So it was kind of like Rich was like in the middle, which is part of the reason he won the game. Spoiler alert. But so yeah, I think Sue. Sue was overall a great game player, personality wise. I seems like she would have been annoying. I wouldn't have gotten along with her. And I just the stuff she said about Kelly in that jury speech she made, which should have been a comment. Not he said a question or a comment, not a speech. And she made a speech, like she literally made a speech going off on Kelly and saying that Rich is a snake, Kelly's a rat. I hope the snake eats the rat, or the snakes usually eat the rat, and I hope that's what happens here. And she's like, I don't know, and again, I liked what I don't know if I said I don't like what Jervis said about she's just mad that she tried to play the same game and it didn't work for her, which is true, and she was just bitter. And I think she did that for attention. I think it was her moment. She's like, oh, I get to say what I want to say. I can make a comment. I can ask a question. I mean, right when she said, "I'm not going to ask him a question," I knew it was going to be some bitterness. I knew there was going to be. I could just tell there was going to be. Didn't realize it was going to be this long of a speech that she made, and I literally I told myself I was like halfway through. I was like, "Is she done yet?" Like she's not getting anywhere. She's just looking like an idiot on TV, and whatever. I mean, I know her and Kelly ended up making up after the show, after the season was, wrapped up and when they went to the reunion. But still, I did. And she says it was her emotions, and yeah, emotions get to you. But it's like I hate these players that do that on like it's Survivor. That I mean, Survivor is known for this. Yeah, the earlier seasons of Survivor, obviously they're allowed to ask whatever they want, make a comment, whatever they want, and that's part of the reason I like the new Survivor. That's what I like about this new era of Survivor is they have to talk about outlast, outplay, outlast, outwit, outlast, outplay. Whew, I got it, guys. Don't worry, I got it. So and they go and like how they had to ask questions based on that, and I like that as opposed to just asking the questions because I know a lot of times these bitter jury members are just they don't care what they have to say. They either ask a question to one person out of bitterness and don't care what they say. They could say the had the best excuse or the best response, and they still be like, okay, well, whatever. I'm not voting for you anyway, or whatever. It's just like I just hate these jury members that do that, and it's like you got to take him. Yes, it's about jury management, but you also have to take in the fact that they're playing a game. You're playing the same game. You're like even though you didn't never play the exact same game, you gotta at some point understand that maybe their gameplay was a good move, and I just these jury members they just can't get over it. They want to overreact about these stupid things, and um, that was I mean we will see this later on. I know, and moving forward, uh, with all these seasons, and she was the first. She was the first one that did that, and I just hate bitter jury members when they're try to be attack attack them instead of just asking the question you know or just being like explain why you did this. I don't. You got to give them a chance to answer. You can't just be outright bitter towards them and just don't care what they say. And that's yeah, I hate it. I hate it. So anyway, going on to Rudy. Rudy, as I was talking about BB earlier, he was a old guy there. He was a vet. Thank you for your service, Rudy. Rest in peace. Also, um, other people might have passed away too. I'm sorry if I missed them in this season, but I know for sure Rudy passed away. So that's why I'm saying rest in peace, Rudy. And rest in peace to all the cast members who were on this. throughout all the seasons who have passed away, and um, yeah, it's sad, but a lot of these players were older, and I mean some were not, unfortunately, but I mean it's unfortunate anyway. Uh, but yeah, rest in peace, and yeah, my condolences to the families. It's not easy, obviously. So anyway, going back to Rudy, as I was saying with BB, he was very opinionated. The whole stuff about not want to be friends with Richard Hatch because of his sexuality and because you know his buddies from the Navy, they wouldn't like that. They would make fun of him from doing that. But even though he made fun, like he kind of made a dig at him and stuff, like he even said at the reunion that probably not going to talk to him again after this, or was it at the final the episode, not the reunion. Anyway, whatever. Uh, he said at some point that he's probably never gonna he can shake his hand and walk out of here and probably never see him again. But the thing with that I like about Rudy is he still worked with him. Like he still knew like Rich was the guy to stay with. He was the number one person that was kind of running this game. He kind of saw that. Well, he might not saw it, but he kind of saw that he was Richard Hatch wanted to take over and wanted to be leading, and Rudy was like, okay. And Richard Hatch, they were both loyal to each other, and had Rich won that last immunity challenge, I think Rudy would be in the final too, not Kelly. So yeah, Rudy was very opinionated, but he was able to adapt somewhat. I mean, he wasn't. He kept saying, "I'm not gonna like hang out with them. I want to go by myself and stuff." But that's just what it is. He's just. Excuse me. Sorry. But what was I saying? Oh, but yeah, Rudy walking up by himself and stuff and doing that. That's just like, he's older. You gotta understand he's not quite gonna be the same. He did pretty good in challenges. He did pretty good. Honestly, I was impressed with what he did, and he's definitely somebody that I could see why he was liked and see why people enjoyed watching him, and I could see why he was cast because of both his background and he was just like this very opinionated person, and they're like he's gonna cause drama. Although he didn't really cause that much drama, but he might cause drama in this season, so let's put him on. Um, Actually, I don't think he caused drama at all. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, he made those comments, but yeah, I don't think he caused that much any drama really. Um, yeah, because people didn't really. I mean, people said they wanted him off, but like never really went through. So, and it wasn't really that like he didn't get into an argument with anybody. So, as far as that goes, he didn't really drama that way. But yes, he did. He was able to adapt, and I give him credit. I mean, like I said, he wasn't like totally adapt. He didn't totally adapt to everybody. He didn't say like he wasn't like strategizing stuff. Mostly the thing I'm thinking about is the fact that he was able to align with somebody that he wouldn't normally talk to in the outside world, and he was able to put that aside and just do that game wise, and hey, that's what I give him credit for. Um. So yeah, Rudy, good guy, pretty good player, very likable, and yeah, he could have won if he made it to the end. I think because he was so likable. But which is why I think Kelly. Well, we'll get to Kelly now. So Kelly, Rudy was out. Now Kelly and Richard Hatch, final two. Um, Kelly obviously won that immunity idol. Chose Rich to take Rich over Rudy. I think because Rudy was more likable than Rich, and she thought she could win. Obviously, she's not gonna pick him because she's gonna lose. But yeah, and I think that's what scared her most about the way that the way she was thinking. It was that I can't beat Rudy in the end. You know, I just think Rudy was too likable. They were all from. I mean, most of the jury was from the other tribe, so I think she's not like she has an advantage there. They were both on the same tribe, Rich and Kelly. So yeah, I think it just came down to hopefully people dislike Rich so much. Richard Hatch. I'm gonna call him Richard Hatch. I feel weird to call him Rich. Um, so she she felt like people were gonna hate Richard Hatch. So my voice keeps cracking. Sorry. That people were gonna hate Richard Hatch so much that they were gonna vote her instead, and it was close. It was close. It was 4-3, and she just couldn't get that last vote. Um, and I think with Kelly, it's she played the game a little too little too late. I think she didn't really start off playing the game. Again, she didn't want to be in that lines because she didn't want to be that type of player that makes alliances and just all that stuff and just make that decision. I feel like it was weird. I don't even understand her reasoning, honestly. She didn't want to be that type of player or something, which was like, yeah, you look back at it now. I know, again, season one, I know. But if someone's offering you an alliance, you take it. You go for it. And you don't sway back. And she was going after Sue a little bit, which definitely hindered, obviously hurt her with Sue. But Sue tried to do the same thing. So that's what I don't get about Sue. She tried to make it seem like she was all innocent and stuff, but she wasn't. Anyway, so yeah, that's why I think Kelly took Rich. And Kelly did play overall pretty good game. She didn't play till I think like the last half of the season. She won those immunity challenges. She won like 5 in a row or something. And then, she gave a good speech. She, more likable than Rich, I think, in terms of like buddy with people. But Rich overall played a better game. Now let's get on to Richard Hatch. Why does my voice keep cracking? I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So, on to Richard Hatch. He played the game before he got to the game. He was planning how to play the game before he got onto that island. And that is what game players do, especially now in future seasons after you've seen the game, how it's played. You got to plan and you got to think about what you can do. And yes, you got to think while you're there too. And Richard Hatch was able to adapt and do that. But I think overall, he even told people that I'm gonna play the game. I'm gonna manipulate people, and people said okay, and they never voted him. He was almost voted out. I think it was that Jenna vote that Sean made that. I think that was the one that kept him in the game. But other than that, he was not even. He had a couple votes against him, but I don't think he was able or really else in danger after that or before that. So, I think people just I think the thing was people think he was hated so much that they could drag him to the end, maybe not to the very end, but long enough, and while they get all these likable guys out like Greg and Jervis and and all these other people out. Little did they know he would make it to the end and he would win. But yeah, he played. He created that alliance of four. He was loyal to Rudy. He was loyal to Sue too. I don't think he ever swayed on Sue. And he was pretty loyal to Kelly, but I know he wanted to flip flop on her, and obviously it's gonna be a discussion with her breaking out and talking to other tribe and alliances that weren't they tried to make another alliance on the other side, but it didn't quite work out. This core four, man, that was it. And Rich was obviously the main piece of that, and ultimately why he won. He played this game from day one all the way up to what was it, 37 days this season. So what was it? It was 39 though. There was 39 this season, I think. So yeah, Rich, very deserving winner. And I have questions because there's comments here. Um, was Hatcher a good winner? Yes, he was a great winner. Like I said, he was able to. These are questions that I wrote down that I thought was important. It's not like people ask me them or anything. So if you think it's an obvious question, don't think that people. Why would people ask you that? These are my questions that are notes that I feel like I wanted to cover. Which I covered most of these, I think. But was Hatch a good winner? Yes, Richard Hatch was a good winner. Again, played the game all the way through. Even played the game before he got onto the island. He was the season. Like everybody had personalities, like I said, but he was, as far as gameplay, he felt like he was the season, which is why he won. Um, better did he play a better game than Kelly? Yes. I mean, he played from the start. Kelly started halfway. She wasn't even, and it's one thing to stay under the radar one bit and not play the game, but Kelly wasn't playing at all until like the second half. She won an immunity challenge, which was great. She was likable, great. But the fact that Rich, again, playing from day one, before day one, was a huge factor. Most entertaining. My handwriting is horrible, so excuse me. Most entertaining. Now, this is a good question because there's a few people I could put in this category. We got Jervis, Greg, and then you got probably those two, Jervis and Greg. Maybe Joel. Joel could be in that. I don't know any girls that were really over the top entertaining. Sue was annoying. Jenna was loud, but I don't think she was like entertaining. Um, Colleen was okay. Yeah, I don't think anybody else was. I mean, Rich wasn't really entertaining, but he kind of was. I don't think he was as entertaining. I think the most entertaining probably was Greg, just because he was his goofball, and Jervis was a goofball too. Don't get me wrong, he was entertaining. I just think Greg, with his little shell phone, talking about like, hey, okay, just that stupid stuff. I think that's what made him more of a goofball, more of a entertaining. But Jervis is second. Jervis is right there. He definitely made the game enjoyable to watch as far as that goes. I kind of went over all that, like I said. Most liked, I feel like that was Jervis. I just feel like Jervis is the most liked. Maybe Rudy. Um, Definitely don't think it was Rich. Definitely don't think it was Sue. I don't think anybody else really. Yeah, I would say Jervis or Craig again. Jervis and Greg maybe again, those two. But I think Jervis was more liked and Greg was more entertaining. Um, oh yeah, that poor Johnny didn't get that video from her family. Which I just read. Obviously, you guys who watch it know. Her family didn't get it in time. Her mom had the kids, her twins, on vacation or something. They went somewhere, and she didn't get the video in time, so she didn't see it. But she did get a letter later, so that was made up for it. Kind of. I know it's not the same as seeing the person, hearing them, but at least you got to see the handwriting of the person and read that, so that was nice. But yeah, it was definitely sad for her not to get it, but um, I understanding the reasoning and kind of behind it is like, as much as it sucks she didn't get it, like I understand that her mom maybe didn't really quite understand how to get it in on time or to think about that, which made for good. I don't want to say made for good TV, but made for a sad scene to want to root for her in a way that was kind of good for her. I know that sounds weird. And then I just my overall reaction, great season. Like I said, not a lot of game players, a lot of entertainment, a lot of you know very likable people. Like I said, the only person I really didn't like, Sue. Everyone else, I pretty much I wasn't really a fan of BB either. But everyone else, I liked. I mean, Sonia wasn't there long enough. I don't really know. Stacy Bell, I remember. I liked Ramona. Dirk was pretty good. I liked Joel. Gretchen was okay. Liked Greg. Jenna was good. Like Jervis. Colleen was okay. Sean kind of was. He kind of got on my nerves a little bit, but he was okay. He wasn't like when I say got on my nerves, it's because he wasn't playing the game. Not that I didn't like him, but yeah, like I said, Sue was bad. I liked Rudy, liked Kelly. Rich was Rich. Richard Hatch, he is who he is. So yeah, I think overall, great entertainment, great season that was. Not much gameplay, but the gameplay that there was good, and thanks to Richard Hatch for that, because that's why he won. So anyway, so yeah, I that was my season one take on everybody going down the from eliminated, and my little questions I had slash points that I bullet points that I made. So yeah, and maybe next time I'll be back further so I can see my more hand movements, and I'll figure out this light situation. Um, but so yeah, next time I'll post, I'll be about season two. I got a few episodes in, so it might be another week or so before I finish it. I don't watch it like every night and stuff. I watch it when I can. So yeah. So thanks for watching, and have a good night. Bye.